Hello everyone, my name is Bhavna Singh. I am working as an assistant professor at St. Andrews Institute of Technology and Management, Gurgaon. This is an online tutorial on software engineering. So let's begin with today's session. So today we will discuss about these topics, that is the SDLC, software development lifecycle, its phases, types of models, waterfall model, prototype model, evolutionary model and spiral model. We will discuss about all these models with their advantages and disadvantages. So let's begin today's session with software development lifecycle, that is SDLC. What do you mean by a life cycle? Life cycle means different phases of a life that everybody undergoes. So like humans, like plants, animals, software do also undergo several phases from the time of inception to the time of implementation and maintenance. And after passing through these phases, a software product is developed in the software industry. And that is why SDLC is defined as a systematic process for building software. It ensures the quality and correctness of the software built. And it also ensures that a high quality software should be produced so that it meets all the requirements of a customer. Secondly, SDLC also explain a detailed plan, that is how to plan, how to maintain or how to build a certain software. And for that process, every phase of the SDLC lifecycle has its own process, deliverables that feed into the next phases. First phase is the planning phase. In this phase, the developers they capture all the requirements from the user, and on the basis of these requirements, they do the further planning accordingly. They get all the requirements from the user, like what is the budget and what the platform they want to use to develop a software and what will be the timelines. So after getting all these requirements, the developer can give an entire, or you can say a clear picture of the entire project. After getting all the requirements, they check for the feasibility study. That means feasibility study means they checks that whether it is practically possible to implement that project based on the requirements or not. After planning comes the second phase, that is defining requirements. In defining, they create a document which is also known as SRS, that is Software Requirement Specification Document, based on the requirement that they capture from the user. This SRS document includes everything that we should be designed and developed during the project life cycle and what things we have to do. Then comes the third phase, that is the designing phase. In this phase, the system and software design documents they are prepared as per the user requirement specification document, and this phase serves as input for the next phases of the model. That is, the entire development of a software product is based on this single phase. Once the system design phase is over, then the next phase is coding. In this phase, the developers they start building the entire system by writing their code using a programming languages which is given by the user, and the programmers they divide the task into units, or we can say modules, and assign it to various developers. For doing these programming, or you can say for writing these codes, the programmers they use programming tools like compilers, interpreters and debuggers to test the software and to remove the errors from the software. Once the software coding is done and we are done with the implementation process, then the testing team it start testing the functionality of the entire system, and if they find some bugs or errors, they can communicate it to the developers. Then the development team that fixes the bugs and send back it to for retesting of this, and this process goes on until the software is bug free, it becomes stable, and it is working according to the business needs of the system, or it is working according to the user expectations. Now the system is maintained, it is fully tested. Now comes the last phase, that is the deployment phase. So once the software testing phase is over and no bugs or errors are left in the system, so finally we can deploy it to the customer end. Now we'll discuss about various life cycle models, that is waterfall model, prototype model, evolutionary model and spiral model. First, let us begin with the waterfall model. Waterfall model is also known as a linear sequential life cycle model. Why we are using it a term linear, or why we are saying it as a sequential model? Because in this model, no iteration is allowed and the process has to go sequentially. That is, if one phase complete, then only the next phase starts. So the input of the first phase will serve as the output to the next phase. and there is no overlapping of phases. That means we cannot iterate back to the previous one unless and until we complete the next one. So according to this model, we have to complete one phase completely, and then only we can move to the next phase, and we cannot backtrack to the previous one. So this figure explains the various phases of waterfall model. First phase is the requirement analysis. In this phase, the developer or the senior team members, they capture all the requirements of the user, and based on these requirements they create a document which is also known as SRS, and they conduct a feasibility study which tells that it is practically possible to implement that process according to the user's expectations or not. And after gathering these requirements, we do the designing part. That is, we create the architecture of the entire system, or you can say the blueprint of the entire system. And based on that architecture, we do the further coding, which is also known as implementation. Implementation means that we are converting the design into a practical code, and for this the programmers, they need various programming tools, they need various programming languages, compilers, interpreters. So all these are the translators that after doing the programming they need to translate into some high level language or some low level language. After the coding part is done, then the programmers or the testers or the testing team, they test the code or they test the entire system, and they test the system for the bugs or for errors, and they remove the various bugs if they found any with the help of various testing tools. And then the development team, it fixes the bugs and sends back to for the retesting of the software. So that is to check whether the software is become bug free or stable, and it is working according to the user's expectations. And once all the bugs or errors they are removed from the system, then final deployment process starts. In this process, they take the feedback from the project managers, and then they release the final project to the customer. Maintenance phase occurs when the system is deployed to the customer end and the customer start using that system. So in this phase, 3 activities basically occurs. That is, first one is bug fixing, where we fix the bugs or errors, and second one is upgrading the application, and third one is the enhancement, where we add some new features to the existing software. So these are the basic advantages and disadvantages of waterfall model. The advantages are that it is simple and easy to understand, and it works well for smaller projects. But the disadvantages are that as it doesn't include any risk analysis or something, so we cannot use it for larger projects. And one of the biggest disadvantage of waterfall model is that it cannot accommodate changing requirements. That is, it does not allow backtracking. So we cannot change any new features, or we cannot add some new features when we move to the next phase. Prototyping model. In this model, we create a prototype for the entire software, and it is kind of a iterative, or you can say a trial and error process. The development team, they build a kind of prototype. Prototype means we are developing a sample of the entire system. And the development of the prototype, it starts when we gather all the requirements from the customer, and on the basis of these requirements we create a blueprint or we create an architecture, and we create a prototype for that system. After the prototype has been developed, we provide it to the end user for getting the feedback or for the evaluation process. And the users, then they provide feedback to the developers regarding the prototype, what is correct, what needs to be modified, and what is missing. So all these changes, they tell this to the development team. And after getting this feedback, based on this feedback, the prototype is modified to incorporate all the changes that the user has told them to do. So this is the diagram of prototyping model. In this, the first phase is the initial requirements, where we gather the requirements from the user, and on the basis of these requirements we create a quick design of the system, which is also known as a prototype. It is not a detailed design, but it includes only important aspects of the system, which gives a rough idea to the user. That prototype, it represents the working model of the entire system, or you can say what is the required system. And then this prototype is presented to the user for the thorough evaluation, and to get the feedback as what is to be added or what is to be deleted, So all these comments, or you can say suggestions, they are collected from the users and they are provided to the developer team. And if the user is not satisfied with the current prototype, then this prototype is again evaluated and it is refined according to the user's requirement, and this process continues until all the requirements that the user has specified are met. And once all the requirements of the user are fulfilled and user accept that final product, so at the end this final system is evaluated thoroughly and then provided to the end customer. So these are the basic phases that we have already discussed about the prototyping model, which starts with the requirement gathering from the user, and on the basis of the requirement we create a quick design and we build a prototype, that is the sample of the entire product. That prototype is given to the user for evaluation, and if the user is not satisfied, then that prototype is again refined, and finally when all the refinement process has done and the user is satisfied with the current product, then the final product is engineered. So these are the advantages and disadvantages of prototyping model. Advantages, they includes it provides a working model. Obviously a user is getting a sample prototype for evaluation, and it enabling us, or it is enabling the user to for the early assessment. And the disadvantages are time consuming, because first we are making a prototype, then we are giving it to the user for evaluation, and then the user is telling what to do and what not to do. So this is a quite time consuming process, which is a disadvantage of this. And because of this only, again and again creating a prototype, it becomes a certain expensive process. Next we'll discuss about evolutionary model, that is also known as the incremental model. In this model, we divide the requirements into groups during the starting of the project. And the SDLC process, that is the starting with requirement and going up to deployment, all the process is repeated with each release and adding more and more functionalities until all the requirements of the users are met. Why it is called incremental? Because it undergoes functional improvements and we keep on adding new and new features whenever we get it from the users until the desired system is built. And when we complete one phase, then feedback is provided by the user for the product so that we can plan for the next cycle. And that is why we say that this software product evolves with time. So this is the diagram of evolutionary model. It is starting with the initial requirements. After these requirements, we create a design, that is the development process is done, and then after each design it is given to the user for the evaluation, and the user provides the feedback on the basis of which we plan for the next iteration, and that phase is known as the user validation. If the user satisfies, then we continue to build on the next phases, and if it is not, then we move back again to the initial requirements. These are the basic advantages and disadvantages. And advantages are that the user gets a chance to experiment partially developed system, that is we are giving it to the user for evaluation, so the user can experience it, and the modules are tested thoroughly, because we are dividing the entire system into separate modules. Therefore it becomes easy for the modules to be tested, and because of these we are separating into different modules. This process becomes a quite expensive and difficult to handle, and sometimes it becomes very much difficult to divide the complex projects, or you can say the larger projects, into simple modules. Next is the spiral model. This model, it consists of many loops, and each loop it represents a one phase of the software process. Let's suppose the innermost loop it concerned with the feasibility study, the next loop with the requirement, the next one with the design, and then the next one with the implementation, and so on. This model is best suited for complex projects because this model considers risk, and it do risk analysis starting from the beginning of the development process. Each phase of this model is divided into quadrants, or we can say the sectors. The first quadrant, it is needed to identify the objectives of the phase. It describes the objectives, what is the objectives, and it also examines the risk associated with these objectives. In the second quadrant, a detailed analysis is carried out. So this is the diagram of spiral model. In this, each phase is divided into sectors, or we can say quadrants. The first quadrant, it defines the objectives of the phase, and it also explains the risk associated with these objectives. In the second quadrant, a detailed analysis is carried out to identify all the risk that is related to the project, and various steps are taken to reduce these risks. The third quadrant is responsible for resolving all the identified risk. And in the fourth quadrant, reviewing and planning is done, that review the results that is achieved so far with the customer, and then we plan for the next iteration around the spiral. So we can say that progressively or step by step, more complete version of the software, it gets built with each iteration around the spiral. These are the basic advantages and disadvantages. Advantages, it includes that it analyzes risk, therefore it is used for large projects. And the disadvantages are it requires more efforts, because if starting from initial steps, we require more and more efforts to identify all the risk and then to resolve these risks. So basically it is a time consuming process also. So students, after understanding all about the life cycle models, these are the important questions that you should consider for the exam point of view. These questions can be asked in your university exams also, that is, explain the life cycle models or explain the life cycle of a software product, then why we call waterfall model a sequential model, and why spiral model is used for complex projects, what are its basic advantages over other models. So guys, this was all about today's lecture. Thank you so much for watching.